Hi, welcome back to the show. I'm here with Kristin from Heels and Holsters, and I'm going to let her talk about herself.
Great. Hi, Chelsea. I'm so happy to be here. I have been a police wife for 12 years. We dated for 10 years before that, on and off. So it's been a journey with my officer. And I'm a mom of two boys. They just started back to school, starting third and fifth grade. I'm a dog mom too. And I saw we're both dog moms, like black lab dog moms, I think. And that's the only animal we have. We live in Southern California. My husband works in Los Angeles, and I'm also a full time professor. So I'm also a working mom. Yeah.
That's a lot. Working mom, content creator, social media guru. Wow. And police officer's wife. That's amazing. And yes, I do have a black lab. I also have a yellow lab and a Mastihoula. So we are definitely dog people around here. So because we have a brand new audience, we need to talk about what Heels and Holster is and what you do through your platform.
Okay, so Heels and Holster, basically I started in 2021 and I was posting funny Instagram reels about police wife life. There was a lot going on in 2020 that, in the first responder life, there was a lot of hate and I just needed an outlet. And I was home working and my kids are pretty young, but I would just record them up time at nighttime. My husband was still working nights. So I'm home in the evening all alone. They go to bed at 8. I had time. So that's when I started, and it just kind of evolved, right? It was just fun at the beginning. And then I really had a lot of people connect with stories. So even though the reels were funny, I would share very real, candid stories in the caption. And then eventually I realized like people love the stories I'm telling. I'll share a book. And so I wrote Heels and Holster Police Wife Devotional about a year or so in. And then I do coaching. And it really isn't that, it's different from my work, but not really. So my background's social work. I have a master's and PhD in social work and really love this career. And I've always helped families. And so it's not like this brand new thing. And so when people started reaching out, I would refer them. But then this last year, I've really embraced doing that and supporting women one-on-one or in group settings. And so my goal, my mission is to support women to live peacefully and have, safe and secure relationships in this lifestyle that's very different than other people's. And I also do support now for first responder and military families. So not just police, because there's so many similarities that we have, even though I know there's nuanced differences too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would much rather be a firefighter's wife than a police officer's wife, if we're being completely honest.
No, I mean, I think there's pros and cons. So, Chelsea, I'm sure you shared it on your podcast before, but like, what was the impetus for you to start, Dear Chiefs and now this one?
Dear Chiefs also started in 2020 because we saw a gap between what was the firefighter lifestyle at work and the family's experience at home. And there wasn't a lot of talk about how to bridge the gap at that time. And so Audra and I decided to create some education around that. And neither of us have a PhD in social work. So, so we brought on experts to talk about the things going on. And then it got kind of evolved into talking with other firefighters and whatnot. And so the goal for that podcast was really to get families talking and understanding the difference between work and home and understanding each other's struggle in that. And now this podcast, I want to bring light to the real family stuff, the things we won't admit, just talking with different spouses. And so today I just wanted us to chat about the different things that we experience at home when our people are out doing heroic things.
And I love how you were saying, even when you originally started the other podcast, there's not a lot of people talking about it. I think there's more now, just being married 12 years. I'd say our hardest time was when we had our first son. So he's 10 now. And I feel like that's when everything hit me. We were long distance the first 2 years of marriage. So I was used to being alone and having a life outside of my husband. But then having kids, finally moving in full time together, it was like, oh, wow, I'm doing this solo parenting thing alone a lot. And so I was like on Google trying to find there was stuff, but I felt like it wasn't nuanced in like the little details and it wasn't vulnerable. And so as hard as it is to be vulnerable, I needed that. And so I try to bring that in the stories that I'm sharing. And I also try to keep it positive because I think when I was Googling, it was like in your face, like this is the way it is. And this is like, and you just have to deal with it. And I wasn't I was not responding to that, at that time. I do think acceptance is a part of what I do. There are things we don't control, but in your face, like just saying that and not like also acknowledging the difficulties, I wasn't responding well to that.
Even being positive about things, putting that positive spin on it, I think that we can get really used to not being vulnerable even in that. Sometimes I'm like, "Okay, how do I put a positive spin on this?" Because in my opinion, some things are negative by design. So
Mm,
how do you put a positive spin on
yeah.
something that's already negative? So part of my struggle as a fire wife in Wildland with CAL FIRE is that the schedule is unpredictable. We're short-staffed most of the time, and so there's hold-alls and forced duties and all
Yeah.
of these things, and there's not a lot of positivity there, right? Like, I can control how I feel about it, but I can't control what's happening,
Mhm.
and that's the part that I think we have to be really careful about being like, "This is great," because it's not, be honest. But yes, we can have positive like, I think I just posted a reel the other day about how I bought a robot vacuum and it's part of my village, like, right?
Oh
That's
my
the kind of
gosh.
thing.
I've been preaching that for a long time. So it was funny. I had a client who worked with me like very early on, like maybe 2021, 2022. She bought my book and then I had a course back then. And we messaged, she's in Australia. Like this is how globally experienced this is, right? It isn't just us, right? And like I love that about the internet. Like not I did not know. Like we had so much in common across an ocean, across the world. She's a social worker too. So we message and we're like friends now. And then she finally got the robot vacuum. And it's been like years of me telling her, like, girl, this is so worth it. And then I have a girlfriend locally who's also a police wife, and we say like it's emotional. This sounds weird, but like at night, turn it on, it vacuums. I go upstairs, shower, go to bed, whatever, and then in the morning, I come down and it's like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like, and I don't really need to say thank you. It doesn't have emotions, so I love
Right?
that thing. Yeah, and you're right, like keeping it real. I did want to get back to like about the unpredictable schedule, understaffed. Like we have that in common too,
Yes.
and that's been consistent. I don't think my husband's department's been fully staffed since we've been married, since I've known him. He's been on for 18 years. The whole time there's been that issue. And then it's wild. My husband will say, if people knew when you call 911, how many people are actually out there available to come to your calls, like if they knew, they would be shocked. One time he came and lectured in one of my classes. I was teaching a public health class and it was such a cool presentation, but he was like, okay, you have these 3 calls that come in. Which one do you go to first? You have to make that decision. It's actually the one that you think isn't going to be the big deal that is the biggest deal. Like there was a woman who is complaining because she got her cell phone taken away and it's like in whatever they wherever they keep it in law enforcement. And she wants him to call her back and see if she can help him with that. She ends up being a human trafficking victim. Never would you go to that call first, right? Never. You're going to go to the call
Right.
where there's a man who potentially is attempting suicide. Like there's that call
Mhm.
too. At the same
Mhm.
time, you have these 3.
Mhm.
You're never going to go to that cell phone missing one, but she ends up being a human trafficking victim and is like one of the coolest stories I think my husband's been a part of and like I'm proud of. But never would you go to that first and you're the only car, like I think that is really things that we don't think about. But like I agree that we want to acknowledge the challenges, but how can we control what we can control? And one thing I've been working on, I think that my husband and I embraced was me feeling seen, both of us feeling seen in that. And that helps my mental health and that helps my ability to deal with the challenges. And then also just feeling like we're in it together. He gets called in unexpectedly. He's not happy about that too. And sometimes we're like, oh, we feel like some people say like married to the job, like they're fine just going away from the family. But if I can be like, this sucks for both of us and we're in it together, that's what will shift that tension and resentment. I feel
Mhm.
like feeling seen and feeling like you're in it together. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, agree with that 100%. That's something that I think was missing in our relationship for a really long time is I felt like he wanted to be at work more than he wanted to be at home. So
Yeah.
I was completely misunderstanding him. He wanted to be at home. He wanted to be with his kids. He wanted to be at home, but he had to be at work. And so you're right. Seeing him for me was what completely changed the game entirely.
Mhm.
Like okay, yeah, you have to be at work. This sucks for both of us. You're missing out on things and I'm missing you. Like
Mhm.
So the resentment kind of just went away. Like, I'm like, okay, he has to be at work. Like, I'll deal with it, whatever.
And forgive me for not knowing, but how long have you guys been together? And then was he in fire before, or like, did he do that after you got married, or were dating, or like how did that go?
So he was a firefighter when I met him, but I didn't know that. When I met him, he's an interim minister at our church. And so I thought I was dating a minister. And then I found out, oh, wait, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
So when we got married, he decided to kind of go back to Cal Fire. That's where he started out. And he ended up in communications as a communications operator. So for those that are listening that don't know what that is, it's a dispatcher, but it's specifically for Cal Fire. And he did that for 8 years. We've been married 17 years, and 8 of those years he was in communications. So imagine my surprise at 8 years when he decides to go back out into the field. That was tough. Our youngest was 5.
That's tough on the whole family because at 5, they're very aware. Children is a whole nother dynamic in this. So a 5-year-old knows, like, daddy used to be here and every evening or whatever, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's like, it's not just you now, you have your kid asking you, where's daddy?
I had no idea. Like, there was not the Dear Chiefs podcast. There was not Hills and Holster. There was maybe 2 websites where you could get some information about being a firewife,
Mhm.
and none of it applied to Wildland. None of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I'm like lost. His first academy was 6 weeks long,
Mhm, mhm.
and he came home, I think, within that time for like 3 weekends.
Yeah.
So here I am doing academy, not having any clue what's going on. My
Yeah.
children are a mess. I'm a
Oh,
mess.
yeah.
Like, this is not a good way to start this in the field stuff, right?
Mm.
And then I think he came back from academy. There was like a month or 2 of regular schedule, and then fire season hits.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
back in 2015, fires were just starting to get huge,
Oh, man.
like big
Mhm.
camping fires. And I remember he was gone for like 2 weeks straight. And when
Mm,
you're new in this and you have no
mhm,
awareness of like
mhm,
anything and how to deal with your kids, it was terrible. Like, it was the most terrible experience for me and my kids and for him. And we were fighting all the time on the
oh, man.
phone and all the things. And so that was not a good start to
Mhm.
being a firewife, right?
No. Yeah.
No. No.
And what about people, like, around you? Did you have, like, family or anybody else that was a fire, family or had no? Like, that's
So my grandmother was a CDF firewife. So
okay.
this is how
Yeah.
old my grandmother was. Um, and one of the first. It was like grandpa had passed away,
Mhm.
and grandma at that time, things were not as volatile as they are now, so he would
Mhm.
go out to fires, but that was just life. Like,
Mhm,
they
mhm.
had no cell phones, they had no social media, it was just, "Oh, this is my
Mhm.
life, I'm gonna deal with it." She
Yeah.
told me that every once in a while, the chief would come over with the scanner so that they could listen to different things,
Mhm, mhm.
but there wasn't, like, for her, it wasn't she didn't have any advice. So her
Yeah.
advice that she gave me was like, "Grandma, what did you do with 9 kids when grandpa was out on fires? How did you keep your sanity?" And she was
Yeah.
like, "I put myself on timeout. I would literally run away."
Mhm, mhm.
But she was like, "Yeah." I'm like,
I love it.
"You did what now?" She's like, "I hid under my apron or I'd run away to the neighbor's house."
I feel like I heard it before and I love it. But it keeps it real. First of all, if you can do that. Yeah, I don't know if you can run away now, but I've gone in the bathroom and hung out in there for a
Mhm.
while, and like
Yeah.
give yourself a moment, like in the times when I needed to like cry because I don't like my kids to see me. Like, has it happened? Yeah. Or like they'll be in the living room, I'm in the kitchen. I'll just like kneel down. Like, yeah, there's been moments for sure.
Mhm.
And so it's like give
Mhm.
yourself that moment. I wouldn't physically leave, depending on where you live, if super safe. Okay.
There were such different times back then too. You could do that and, like, nothing would ever happen. They lived in the middle of nowhere. The kids
Yeah.
were outside. Grandma was just like, "I'm done. I'm going to the neighbor's house."
Yeah.
But I thought she was gonna say something extremely profound, like, she was gonna give me some kinda lecture about, "This is what you do," and it was like, "Nope, I don't have any advice for you. Just run away."
Oh my gosh.
And then when you asked my mom, "What
Yeah.
was it like?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Well, it was life." Like, we
Yeah.
knew dad was working.
Mhm.
We didn't really think too much about it, and, he'd be home when he was home, and when he was home. He, read stories to us and
Yeah.
all of the things that dads do,
Gosh,
and
yeah.
so she's like, "I don't have any advice for you."
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, yes, I did have that, but the advice I was getting was very antiquated, in some ways. I think it was very profound, but it wasn't what I needed at the time. I did have family around to help out with the kids, so I was really fortunate in that, but he was working about an hour from here, and there
Mhm.
wasn't really anyone living here at the time that I could connect with, and so I felt very alone in this kind of lifestyle, and so that's what I don't want for anyone else,
No, yeah,
ever.
yeah, totally. And that's what I hear like when people read my stuff, I'm sure. Even when I read yours, I'm like, oh my gosh, you just feel seen. And
Mhm.
that is amazing when you don't know anybody else with this lifestyle. And there's so much comparison that we could do ourselves. But I also hear, and I've gotten it maybe early on when I was insecure in my marriage and my relationship, it's easy for people because you're venting or whatever. And they're like, oh, yeah, you really should be seeing your partner more, you know? And then you're like, oh, or like, I'm mad when he's not home by 5:35, you know? And it's just like, oh, shoot, like, I'm not going to see mine at all today, you know? And
Right.
then it makes you feel more alone when you're doing that like comparison. And I do think even other first responder families, because we have like a neighbor who's EMT, and so they live a similar life, and that makes me feel better. I'm so thankful for our neighbor because there's a lot of little kids for my kids to play with. Like even when we drove through it the first time before buying, we rented here first, but I saw the moms pushing their kids in strollers, and I was like, this is the one. Because it was also safe. It's not safe everywhere here to
Mm,
walk around, but that was nice to know. And there's always people out, so you don't feel as alone, even if you are alone all day. It
yeah.
always made me feel better. And then now our kids are older and play with the neighbors. So that's amazing on those long solo parenting days, not all about you entertaining them all day. And I do feel really blessed to have that, but it was intentional. And my husband works an hour and a half drive away right now
Mm.
from where he works. But he says he'd rather live out here. We could live closer, but he'd rather truly have a break and just feel like we're safe when he's there. So,
So, I wanna get into that because my husband said something similar to me just recently. He said, "I'd rather not live where I work
yeah.
because I don't wanna go on calls where I might know a child or a wife or,
Mhm. Yeah.
whatever." And I thought to myself when he said that, I was like, "That's different." Like, I never even thought about it that way. Like, I don't wanna be going on a medical call for a kid that I know that played with my kid on a soccer team.
Yeah. So
Like,
different.
that's his whole thing. So, for a very short time when he was doing his paramedic internship, he worked at the hospital here to
Mhm.
get his internship done, but after that, he ended up working about an hour and a half from here for a little while as a medic. So, it was just shocking to me.
Okay, so my husband's always been open about that, and so it doesn't shock me only because 'cause I've heard it from the start. Because he used to live on, like, the other side of LA, but we've never lived in the main metropolitan area of LA. Where he used to live is a little bit closer, but now we're a solid suburb. We're not right in LA, and even where we are now, we can't get far enough when he's off. Like, so we just literally went on a trip to the East Coast. Last summer, we went to Europe. Like, it's like, let me get away from like everything because even where we are, fortunately, he's been in gang units, so he will see gang members out here. And maybe like 45 minutes away from here, we have a timeshare condo on the beach. And then he ran into a picture of this gang in front of where we stay out there. And it was like, ah, like it can never be far enough away. But also, I want to share like, I've had clients who live and work in small towns, like their husbands are deputies, right? And like, they're not getting away. They are where they live, where they work. And so I love this woman's story. Like, she was trying to figure out also how to have time together because her husband was a K-9 officer and the only one, basically. And so when they needed him on the weekends, he'd get called out all the time. So they didn't really get time together. So she would plan quarterly vacations for them, like on a week, just a weekend, like get away. And she's like, we didn't even go anywhere fancy. We went to like the other county over. So we couldn't get called in. So they knew they would have time coming up. And then she said, again, like that whole comparison and kind of people judging the way that you live your life. Like her mom and family would be like, you're spending all this money on vacations. Like, we never did that. And she found confidence in that, like, nope, this is what my family looks like. And this is what we need. And they weren't staying anywhere fancy, but they could literally know, all right, this weekend, we're going to have a full weekend together. And otherwise, they couldn't. And they literally had to leave the county to get it.
Yes, we do something similar, during fire season. I shouldn't even say fire season anymore, I think it's a myth, but during busier season, we make sure that every 4 to 6 weeks, he takes a vacation week. So he stocks up all of his vacation time for fire season, so I could care less if we celebrate Christmas on Christmas Day. I would much rather see my husband for longer than, like, 5 minutes during fire season. So we book it out, and then we might not go anywhere, we might just stay at home, but we try to take 1 trip by ourselves every year and 1 trip with our kids somewhere every year. And then every once in a while, he and I go for a weekend somewhere by ourselves.
We have just started doing more of time, just my husband and I. That's relatively new only because I just don't want to leave the kids. It's pretty rare, but we do it now. But so
There you
what you're
go.
talking about, then he's on board with that and you're on board with him, like taking that, every, did you say 5 or 6 weeks?
It's like 4 to 6 weeks depending on the year.
So I named that, I call it consistent quality time together. So like for you guys, you can depend on that. And it's like this glue that's holding you through those times when you're not together. Because I realize that when you don't have it, that's when you're going to get resentful and angry and lonely. Also, what I see a lot is people really depending on text messaging for really deep topics that they want to communicate with their partner on. It's the reason you're doing that is because you don't know the next time you're going to sit with them and be able to talk. I like to share this because there's so many people like you where like your husband might be gone like weeks, right? Or there's people I support that like have deployment. So my husband used to call me. We didn't have kids, so it was a little different. And I was open to this because I was like, we need to talk every day. We didn't even use FaceTime. Like we were kind of just, I don't know. But like having that synchronous, you're in the same time talking to each other is so much more powerful than text messages. So he'd call me after he would have like night or swing shift, but it was like 3 a.m. my time or the middle of the night. But I just leave my phone next to me and I would talk to him. And like it wasn't this deep conversation, like 'cause I'm like half asleep. And then once I remember we carved pumpkins together over FaceTime. It's like once in a while we do that, like a little date. And then every 2 months, one of us would try to fly to the other. Sometimes it would push it to 3. But again, we didn't have kids. And I'm a good sleeper overall. So I could usually go back to sleep. So it wasn't a big deal. That's what it looked like for us then. A lot of times when people are feeling resentful, no, they're not having that consistent quality time together. I'll say I'm curious, women, we're so passive. We're socialized to be. It's not like totally our fault, but we can learn different. And we don't have to be. And especially with men who work in this field, they're very assertive. They communicate differently. And I'm curious about the consistent quality time together that you guys developed. Did you bring that up or did he, or do you guys just kind of come to that over time?
So we were struggling to communicate, to be together. We were fighting on the phone all the time. Like it was just mad, crazy bad. And so we ended up going to some counseling.
Yeah.
And the counselor was like, you need to talk on the phone every night. It doesn't have to be long, deep conversations, but you need to be talking on the phone every night. You can do that. You have downtime.
Yeah.
And so we have instituted a nightly phone call.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's
Yeah.
an hour. Who knows? Like,
Mhm.
and sometimes we have nothing to talk about. So all we do is like, this is what I did today and it's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And other times, something's going on with the kids and we
Yeah.
have deeper conversations about the
Yeah.
kids, or this is how I'm feeling, or there's something going on at work or whatever. We also turned our television off for an entire year.
Okay. Wow. Amazing. Good for you. Tell me about this. What happened? What changed?
So we noticed about ourselves that we would default to at night Netflix and chill, like just turn on the TV and completely ignore each other and zone into whatever show we were watching at the time. And that's not good for intimacy. That's not good for connection. That's not good for talking, nothing. And so we just, as a couple, nobody told us to do this. It was just, we think the TV's a problem. We're going to turn it off.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So for an entire year, minus we'd watch a movie with the kids, but that
Okay.
was it.
Yeah.
We turned the TV completely off. And the rule was we have to connect before we can watch TV.
Okay. I love it. Yeah.
So after a year, we started watching shows again, but it
Mhm.
was after we had had a conversation, hung out
Yeah.
with the kids, went on a date, whatever. We did not just default to that anymore, and we still don't.
Okay.
So
So I feel like so guilty right now.
I'm shocked that we could even do it. I'm So proud of us for doing that,
Yeah.
honestly.
So I feel like you had a really good therapist too, just to want to mention that because I feel like that was really specific advice that was something doable for you guys to implement. But I feel like a lot of times therapists don't fully get this life. They didn't live it, even if they were working it for the department.
Yeah, our therapist had been a police officer himself, so not a
Oh,
firefighter, but a police officer,
yeah.
and so he really understood
Mhm.
what was going on.
So I also want to say we do Netflix and chill, but we have always enjoyed watching shows together. It's like a bonding thing. And early on, I was with him in my PhD program. Like we were both just super busy, like starting our careers. And so we'd like, oh my gosh, like before kids, Netflix and chill all day. And it was dreamy. I love it. Love just because we were so busy. So we're the opposite. Like I wouldn't take it away because we bond and we do take that moment, like you're saying, like to talk first, like we're touching base about our day. And it's sometimes, like you say, it's about the kids, like logistics
Mhm.
stuff, like when you're married, but sometimes I'm venting about my day or whatever because he's a good listener.
Well, I think too, it's really easy to get into the routine of things, just, like falling into the mundane of life, like go to work, come home, turn on TV, like that kind of stuff. And so one of the things I've always been really big on is making sure that everybody sits down to dinner as a family. We sit at the dinner table. When we first were married, we had a very small kitchen and it did not have like extra seating except for the dinner tables. But now I've designed my kitchen to have like a central place where people can come sit. So we have an island and a bar off the island. And so that's where the kids go immediately. Straight to the island. Everybody kind of sits around. It's really nice. So that's one of the biggest things for me when he is home. There is going to be dinner and it's going to be as a family.
Oh my gosh. So I literally have on my podcast one episode all about family dinner because I got this question recently, but it was kind of a little bit different than what you're talking about. But she was talking about solo nights, but I shared how Rick and I, our families were not perfect growing up, but we did really remember family dinners. And so I remember building when I was pregnant with my first son, an IKEA $50 table that literally we kept forever and put it together thinking we're having our first child. We're going to eat at the table together. Prior to that, we didn't even have a table. Like we would just eat wherever on the couch. And so we still implement the same thing that you're talking about. We sit and eat most meals together, TV free. So on solo nights or solo days or whatever, I've always done the same thing. Like if we're home all day together and we're home, we're going to eat at the table together, TV off, and even I remember like sitting in one of these chairs, like breastfeeding my second son, right? My other one's right here. And like, I'm eating while he's eating. We're doing it all together. Like, and
Mhm,
do what you got to do. And that was even when I was alone. So I think, and that creates consistency, right? Like
mhm.
for us as a family. But I'm curious, like, okay, solo night dinners are totally a little more laid back, though. I will say that,
Yes.
it's going to be like grilled cheese. It's going to be like whatever, a little more laid back, a little bit fancier. Cause also you have help when your husband's home if you have young kids. So to
Yeah,
make it a
so
little,
for me, it's the same
yeah.
thing, same rules, no phones at the table. We are gonna eat together. I'm gonna make dinner. It's a little bit more flexible. My husband has a internal clock that tells him when he's hungry, and I could set my watch to it. And so it's 8, noon, and 5 for meals.
Okay. Yeah.
But when he's not home, I kind of try to make it up to the kids when we're gonna eat dinner. So if they wanna be outside riding dirt bikes or they wanna be gaming with their friends, I'm like, "What time do you want me to start dinner? It's gonna
Okay.
take this amount of time for
Yeah.
me to make it."
Yeah.
And so but we use our island more than we use our dinner table when it's just us, and
Yeah.
so I will literally stand when I eat when Cameron is gone, and the kids will sit at the bar,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of conversation that happens, and we eat, and it's
Mhm.
it's it's really the only time I think when my husband is gone that I actually see my children.
If you're older, so you're at, like, a
'Cause they're
little different stage
teenagers.
than I am. Mine are still around most of the time, but, like, we're getting there with, like, team sports taking over, but they're
Mhm.
still little. Like, it's not as serious as the older sports, so mine are just 10 and 8, so
Yes. My middle one, my senior in high school is working. He's, in school. So, 6 o'clock at night is when I see
mhm.
their face, right? And so we eat dinner together.
Yeah, that's so nice.
And there are times when it's like, do you guys feel like you want to make dinner tonight? No? Okay, well, we're just gonna have leftovers. And then it's like fend for yourself.
Oh my gosh, so I love leftovers. Like, I plan for leftovers, so I'll cook if I can. Let me clarify, because sometimes I'll make like tacos, they eat the whole, like it's done, you know?
My
So
God.
I might have planned for it and it's not happening, but I try to plan, not really cooking every night as a working mom. I feel like, especially with the sports, like I have to think ahead and be like, okay, that night we're going to be coming home at dinner time. Like, what can I either, it's already made or something, because I prioritize it so much. Like, I kind of, I'm always thinking about this. And I also think for health and money, like it's so much better to eat at home. But I also want to say Friday nights, we call it TJ Friday. We go out and it's like my plan break. And then we like switch who decides like where we're eating. And it's just kind of fun. Like, it's just a consistent quality time together. I know I have a break on Friday,
Mhm.
every week. Randomly we'll go out other times, but it helps me to just schedule that in.
My kids are obsessed with the chicken at Safeway.
Okay.
So they love, like, the barbecue chicken tenders
Awesome.
or, like, whatever, the
Yeah.
spicy chicken, and so on any random day, they'll be
Yeah.
like, "I want some chicken," and so we'll just
Okay.
do that, and then
Yeah.
I'll postpone my dinner plan, whatever it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and so we do that, and then one of the ways that I would keep them from being really sad when dad was home is I created something fun for them to look forward to with
Yeah.
mom, and
Cool.
so we this is gonna be like, nobody judge me. Like, we would go to the grocery store and fill a basket with candy and
Oh, yeah.
soda, and we'd come home and have movie marathon night,
No, that's so
right?
fun. Yeah. Yeah.
So, we still do that as teenagers, they're like we still load the cart up with candy.
Yeah. I love
So, I
it.
think when we are solo parenting, it's really important that we have something to look forward to even within that. Love that you guys do takeout.
It's usually us, just the kids and me. So because I have a teacher schedule, so I'm off the winter break, which I love, and I intentionally planned this. I knew I want to be a mom, and it's such a good mom job that I have. But in the summer, I'm home like 3 months with them, and like when they were younger, I am a planner. So like, what are we doing tomorrow? I just can't sit around the house all day. So I always would be like, all right, so even if it's not anything that crazy, it's like play date with a friend at a park, or like we're gonna go check out this new whatever it is. And then sometimes we chill at home, but I like to have a plan, like something to look forward to, and to see other adults is like so critical as a solo parent with tiny kids that don't talk yet. So I joined a mom group and I'm still friends with like two moms from that group. Now 10 years later, we're still friends, and one married my husband's bestie, which is so cool. And they have two little kids. Um, None of them were first responder wise, but I still felt like we would have little play dates. And again, just seeing other adults when you're not going to see your partner all day and maybe for the next 2 days, it's super helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So, one of the things that I did to get with more adults was I put my kids in organized sports really early on.
Yeah.
That ended very abruptly because there was a fire season when I had my kids on 2 different soccer fields, and I couldn't be in the same place at once, and Cameron couldn't be there, and so they played soccer for a few years, and then I just was like, "This is too stressful for me, and it's stressing everybody out, so we're not doing it." And then they didn't go back to organized sports until my youngest was in his 8th grade year, he played football, but that was my way of getting the adult time back then, was just being around other parents for practice and games and different things. And then we'd go to the park and there'd be parents everywhere. We live in a really small town, so everybody knows everybody. So when you go to the park,
Okay.
you know the people that are there.
Yeah, I think it's definitely different out here. In our little neighborhood, we have a park, and so you do see the same parents. But outside of that, when we didn't live here when we first had our first son, I definitely didn't know anybody at the park, and I had just moved to LA. And if anybody knows, LA is not easy to meet people. It's not easy to make friends. So let's talk about the sports thing, because I also got this question, and somebody had messaged me, and I'm kind of new to this world of both of my kids now wanting to do team sports. So she said her husband really wanted her kids to be in like all these activities, but then her husband's gone a lot. It's all on her. And she has a little one too. So she's like dragging the baby or toddler around each. And like we do see moms do that. And like amen to them. Like amen to them. Cause oh my gosh, I have some mom friends I've known for a long time. They both have 4 kids and they're so much more chill than me. I'm like high anxiety, like, where's my kid? I need like, oh no, he's gonna cry. Okay. But they're just like, he's crying. It's all good. Like some people, it doesn't bother them. This mom, it did. So I told her, like, I definitely set boundaries and I look ahead. So I set my routine up so I can run it independently. Like, this is just the reality of my life. And so, like you're saying, it can be two places at once. I always am looking ahead. So, like, right now, my oldest is going to do like football. I know my youngest wants to do basketball again. He's like in every session. And I'm like, okay, maybe my youngest is going to have to wait like this session and not do it right now. And he'll do that next time. But you also can't lose your mind. And then our kids do jujitsu and music too. And jujitsu comes in and out because we've been going there for so long. I can ask for pause. And my husband wants them to do it every summer. He's crazy about jujitsu. And I do it now too, which is also new self care for me. And I love it. And I don't pause my own. I'll clarify. I did for 2 months because my youngest had basketball practice same time as my class. And I was like, I'm so excited to support him. But in general, I wouldn't pause it for the whole year. I'll figure it out. But having boundaries and advocating for yourself, that's just that communication piece. And then that's why I feel like a lot of women, we're so passive and we don't know how to communicate. Like, this isn't working for me. And please respect my role in the marriage and as a mother. And it's not good for anybody if I'm all stressed out.
I think that's also being self-aware.
Hmm.
We need to
Yeah.
have the awareness that we are feeling the way we're feeling and there's a reason for it. And we
Hmm.
need to figure
Hmm.
out how we can either change the way we think about it or we need to change something about what's
Hmm.
happening. And I could control whether my children played soccer or not. I
Hmm.
could not
Hmm.
control whether my husband was on duty or not. And so my kids were not going to die if they didn't play soccer.
Yeah.
They were not going to miss out on anything because we'd still see those people at school. We'd still make play date arrangements or whatnot, but we did not have to play soccer, and it got to a point too where they weren't enjoying it because they wanted dad to be there and they made them sad, and I just felt like it was an unnecessary struggle that they were having, and so if they're not enjoying the sport that they're playing and they're not enjoying the way that they feel about the circumstances, why have it? Wanted their dad to be at their soccer games, and unfortunately, with the holdalls and the forces and all the things that happen, we didn't know week to week if he was gonna be able to be there or not, and so it was, "Oh, maybe dad'll be here, maybe you won't," and it just was causing way too much, kind of anxiety. So when I was trying to be on 2 fields at once and it was stressing me out, I was like, "We're not doing another season of this."
So my husband's dad was a law enforcement officer, and he played football, he did wrestling and stuff. And so I kind of asked, like, was your dad able to come? And he said, no, like usually it was just my mom, like once in a while he could. My husband's dad used to take similar in like my husband's department. They get like this month where they can like, it's almost like guaranteed they can use their leave. And like that's their vacation month. That doesn't mean they're off the whole month, but they can like versus the rest of the year they could request, but it's definitely not guaranteed.
Mm,
So my husband's dad would take off like a whole month in the summer. Like he was in the military, like taught my husband all this survival stuff. And like my husband always looked up to him and like still had that strong relationship. And so that made me feel better. And I know, especially with sports, my oldest came home and was telling my husband, like, oh, I caught the football. And this sounds like such a simple thing, but he's 10 and he's just like learning. And he was like, oh, that like somebody passed it and he caught it successfully. And he didn't tell me that. He waited until his dad was home because that's what they bond over. Like, girl, I'm learning how to throw football myself still. Okay, like that isn't my thing. We're not gonna bond over that. But so I think it was special that he could still like tell him that. And I don't, for me, I just plan like he's not gonna be there because
mhm.
their schedule changes every 4 weeks. We don't know like what days, it's not consistent days they have off. Like, and so even though he's been on days and it's amazing and we're very spoiled, like we don't ever know what's gonna change. So I just like I just assume he's not gonna be there. And then if he is, it's like, yay.
Right, yeah,
Uh,
and that's, like, learning, so this was early on, it was probably again, like, remember I had 8 years where he was home, and so the kids saw him every single day, they
Mhm.
had interaction with him every single day, and so this, going back to the field was such a shock, and I think that that's part of the reason why they had such a hard time is
Yeah.
because they were so used to dad being home all the time and
Yeah.
being able to go to soccer practice and being able to go to soccer games. So when he
Mhm.
went back to the field is when this started,
Mhm.
and I just said, "No more. It's too crazy." And I was
Yeah.
working full time too at the time. I guess I should have mentioned that. I was working over 40 hours a week,
Yeah.
as well, and so it was just too much, and I felt like it's an unnecessary evil that I'm allowing into my life, and so let's just
Mhm.
cut it.
No, yeah.
Um and they were happy, and then they could they didn't have to think about going to soccer practice every day, and they didn't have to be doing things on the weekend. We could go to the beach or we could hang out at
Mhm.
home, whatever they wanted. So,
Yeah.
it worked out really well for everyone, but I was like, "This is how I'm gonna protect my peace and their peace at the same
Mhm.
time."
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. Yeah. And like you had to, like you say, be self aware and
For
then
sure.
also know, like, yeah, you're not hurting them. They're gonna be fine. Like,
Mhm,
your
and if they
family's
wanna
gonna be
play
fine.
organized sports in high school, like, let them. Like, that's fine, because at
Yeah.
that point, they're gonna know that their dad can't be home all the time, right? That's not something they're gonna have to get used to, it's just a thing that is. But I wanna talk about your dog. Evie? No,
Hero. Hero is her name.
Hero. Why did I
Yeah.
think why was I thinking so Hero is the name of was Evie a choice at some point?
No, I'll tell you why. So we were raising her to be a guide dog as a family service project, and she was a part of a litter where you had to pick a name that started with H. They all were H names, so it would have been E anything.
I
But
wonder why I thought that, okay.
yeah, so there were other choices, but then, like, also it's this big organization, Guide Dogs of America, and so you would pick a few names because then if they had another puppy that they were still raising or that was a guide dog with the same name, they don't give that name. So we gave them like 5 names and this is the one. So she's a girl and a lot of people are like think she's a boy. She's a black lab with Hero, but I put a pink collar on her and nobody cares. They still call her a boy. But I think she's very pretty and we love her. She was doing well. We were training her and we got to take her everywhere. She had a little guide dog's vest, dog in training. But then they found out at 1 year that she had right elbow dysplasia. It's the lowest grade, but they still wouldn't let her proceed to go to formal training. So she's ours. We got first choice to adopt her and was kind of unexpected because she was doing well in the training. So we thought she's going to go become a guide dog. But we love her to pieces. So she jogs with me and she's generally just so sweet. Yeah. What about your dogs?
My dogs are spoiled and have no training, no. Sit, stay, and, lie down, and that's about it. And they do walk on leash, like, we can get
Yeah.
them to walk on leash.
Oh, that's pretty
Um,
good.
so our black lab is a boy, and his name is Cash, and we got him at a shelter called Homeward Bound,
Oh, that's nice.
in Sacramento, and then our yellow lab they're both purebred,
Oh,
and they, the older one, Max, he's our
uh,
yellow lab. We also
yeah.
got him at a shelter locally.
Mm. Oh,
So
that's
all of our
nice.
dogs are rescues.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and then my 21-year-old son has a service dog named Rusty. He is a
Oh.
lab golden retriever mix.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so, I'm not, like, a lab person because we didn't pick her, like, you just get whatever dog, but they only use, like, labs and retrievers now, but they
Mhm.
have mixes too because they said it's, like, better for the genes.
So Cash came to us actually papered, so we have
Oh,
his
wow.
papers, we know who his
Excellent.
breeder is, we know who
Yeah,
his father is, like, he
yeah.
was bred
Cute.
for hunting.
Oh,
He's never gonna go hunting.
maybe that's what happened, they were like, "This is not working out." Like, yeah, Hero didn't work out for her job either, so what are you gonna do?
No, no, he actually, unfortunately, his family, had
Mm.
to make a choice between moving out of their apartment and getting rid of him.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
And they couldn't find something that was affordable to move out, and so they ended up bringing him to the shelter, and the shelter, honestly, that they brought him to could not be better. It's
Cool.
specifically a
Yeah,
golden retriever lab shelter,
cool. Yeah,
um, and he was not there for very long before we found him, and so, he is actually really well trained. I'm actually
yeah.
really surprised, like, he is not a counter surfer, he is I mean, every dog I've ever had is a counter surfer. This one is not. You can tell him to leave it. So,
Cool.
as a puppy, they must have trained him really well. I
Yeah,
have no idea what his formal training is, but he's probably,
that's
like, one of
cool.
the most well-behaved dogs I've ever had in my life.
Oh my gosh, they're really smart. Yeah, I think if you're consistent with the training.
So, yeah, he will never hunt because he's spoiled.
That's
Also, my
okay.
my husband doesn't like to duck hunt, so he will never hunt.
Okay. Yeah.
He's not a bird
That's so
hunter.
funny.
So yeah, that's our pack. We have 2 labs and a mixed one that's here every once in a while.
Aw, that's so fun. Yeah, so, when I realized we both had the labs, that, I messaged you, like, before we got her, because she's only 2, so we just barely got her in our marriage and didn't have any animals. We were in apartments, even our house now is a townhouse, so we don't have a yard of our own. In the neighborhood, we have a dog park, so there's hardly any dogs there, and it's lovely, like, to have that. And then my husband will just go, like, run her, and she's pretty good at coming back to him. For me, she'll ignore me. But anyway, yeah, so it took us time to, like, so that's kind of why we were like, we'll just volunteer and like have our kids have like the dog experience. But then she's ours now. We weren't really planning on that. But anyway, but I do feel like people would tell me like back kind of when I first, I would have people like give each other advice. And so people would be like, oh, how do you like reduce your anxiety at night when you're alone? And the biggest thing people would say, get a dog.
Mhm.
And we never had one, so I didn't really know. But I will tell you, especially our dog, she's a very clingy lab. And I hear that that's consistent, and that's maybe
Yes.
also why they use them for service and other things is they'll stay close. And her bark is intimidating. Like lately, she did start to growl, but she never did before. But it does make you feel better. Like
Mhm.
you do have this feisty little potential thing that can do damage and is going
Mhm.
to kind of keep out. She definitely is always like aware of everybody when we're home. She won't like totally fall asleep, her girl. She's always like got to follow us around where we are. And I jog with her, which I jog early in the morning. So it makes me feel better. I feel like I would give people that advice. And then also it gets you out of the house. Like if you don't have kids, I feel like kids gets you out of the house, but also dogs. You walk them and then you meet neighbors or interact with other adults, which is great. So I would give people that advice, even though it seems counterintuitive because then you'll have more work.
People always ask me, "What's your best advice about being a boy mom?" I'm like, "Get a dog.
Oh, because then they play
If
together
you have
or
a
what?
boy, get a dog."
Yeah.
Because then they're best friends and they go outside to play together and
Oh,
you
that's so
yes.
cute.
So that is my philosophy of parenthood is if you have a child, get a dog. We've had a dog forever, like,
Yeah.
ever since we've had
That's
children,
awesome.
we've had a dog, and so you're right, it does reduce anxiety. I don't think I will ever not have a dog when my husband is out and gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially now we live, pretty remote. We're about 3 miles inland from
Mhm.
town,
Mhm.
and we have neighbors, but we're all pretty spread out.
Mhm.
And so I like the alert system
Yeah, yeah.
that comes
Totally.
in it comes with dogs, and you're right, like, their barks are intimidating.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. Our dog is definitely our doorbell for sure.
I would say that's one of the easiest ways to feel less afraid at night.
Well, and it's literally a deterrent. So, like, I mean, if someone's gonna try to do something, they're not gonna go after the house with the dog, especially the big dog. I mean, a Yorkie might not help you. You know what I mean? I think a bigger dog is probably a better choice.
Yeah,
If you
I
had to
think a bigger
choose.
dog is a better choice if you're looking for protection,
Yeah.
um, but a yappy little dog
It's
is
still a
just as
deterrent.
and it's I feel like it's about, like, also having somebody there, like, my dog sleeps with me. He
Okay.
has a bed, but he chooses to sleep on my bed, which is fine. I'm
Yeah.
happy about it, but,
Yeah.
he sleeps at the end. So, like, it's having that other being with you as well. You
Mhm.
have a companion.
Yeah, and they're always, like, keeping an eye out for where you are, who's around the house. I absolutely love that, and so I didn't really understand it, everyone giving that tip over and over until I had
Mhm,
her, and now I feel so much better because, like I said, I'm a good sleeper, but I would definitely stay up later than
mhm.
normal when my husband wasn't home. I don't know, I probably had a little anxiety there. I didn't stay up all night, but I would stay up a little later just kinda being conscious that I
I
was
had the
alone probably.
worst sleep schedule
Mm.
before we moved into this house.
Yeah.
So, I feel like when I lived in town, I was way more anxious and I stayed up till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm.
But when we
Mhm.
moved out here, like something happened
Mm.
and I go to sleep by 9. Like I
Yeah.
can't stay up that late. But I also think it has a lot to do with our bedroom. Our bedroom is in a basement area, so it's
Mhm.
super dark, it's super cold.
Mhm.
Nothing is bothering me. My dog
Yeah.
is down there, but like I had
Mhm.
the worst sleep schedule.
And I do think I would probably be a lot more nervous if we were in the city more and, like, we're out in a little sleepy suburb. So, that is definitely helpful. And it's hard, it's like you can't tell people to move because you can't just get up and move, but it might be a long-term plan. If you're listening to this and
Mhm.
you're like, "I have a lot of anxiety about where I live," I think that's something to advocate for yourself as, like, a long-term plan for you because it's worth it, like, and then even us talking about our husbands feeling better, like, when they're home, when they're off, they can relax more.
Except for when they bring their phone home, they're an admin.
Oh, okay, never mind, sorry.
Oh, well, and that's another boundaries, right? When you're home, you don't get to check your phone all day long. You get
Depends
to
on
leave
who
it
they
on the
are.
counter. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
if they're on call or whatever, yeah, some people are, so you can't control that. I
yeah.
guess what I'm saying, I mean, like, my husband doesn't even like us to go to LA. I love LA, I love some things in LA, we do go there, I love the museums, there's so much fun stuff, like, but like, it's not his biggest thing on his days off to go do that with us, so I'll just go on our own, then we'll go visit him at work, and it's a fun little trip, but I feel like his anxiety is higher. So, like, just relaxing, period, on his day off
Mhm.
is like different if we were to live there or like out there on his day off versus out here. It's pretty sleepy. Like, there's nothing. We have local police here, and well, before we moved in, my husband interviewed them, and they were like, once in a while we get like a DV situation, like domestic violence, but like, it's pretty rare, even that. Like, so there's not that much going on out here. Thank God, you know? Yeah.
Love to hear that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this has been great. I love how things are so similar, but there's a nuance,
Yeah.
and I think that these are like the greatest conversations. This is the best thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's tell everybody how they can follow you or get in touch.
Okay. So everything is heels and holster. It's one word, heels, the word and holster. And I have a podcast on Apple and Spotify, and then mostly really active on Instagram. It's at heels and holster. I have heelsandholster.com. So that's where to find me. I'd love to hear from you and support you. And thanks for having me, Chelsea.
Thanks for being on the show.